Good afternoon to everyone. Εκλεκτή προσκεκλημένη, κύριε Υπουργέ, με ιδιαίτερη χαρά και εκ μέρους της έδρας της UNESCO στη ψηφιακή πολιτιστική κληρονομιά του Τεχνολογικού Πανεπιστημίου Κύπρου, σας καλωσορίζω στη διαδικτυακή εκδήλωση με θέμα τη ψηφιακή εκπαίδευση και τις δυνατότητες αφήγησης μέσω της Europeana, της Ευρωπαϊκής Ψηφιακής Βιβλιοθήκης. Είναι η πρώτη φορά που τοπικοί φορείς ενώνουν δυνάμεις για τη διοργάνωση αυτού του σεμιναρίου, όπου αποδέχτες είναι οι εκπαιδευτικοί, δημοτικής, μέσης και τεχνικής εκπαίδευσης της Κύπρου. Απευθύνω ευχαριστίες προς όλους τους διοργανωτές, το Υπουργείο Παιδείας, Πολιτισμού, Αθλητισμού και Νεολαίας, την Europeana, καθώς και όλες τις εκπαιδευτικές οργανώσεις της Κύπρου, την ΠΟΕΔ, την ΟΕΛΜΕΚ και την ΟΤΕΚ. Το σημερινό σεμινάριο θα ξεκινήσει με σύντομους χαιρετισμούς στην ελληνική γλώσσα και στη συνέχεια θα έχουμε τις παρουσιάσεις στην αγγλική από εκπροσώπους της Europeana. Επιτρέψτε μου να απευθύνω δύο λόγια προς τους εκλεκτούς ομιλητές μας. Dear distinguished speakers, on behalf of UNESCO Chair on Digital Cultural Heritage, I warmly welcome you in the online seminar on digital education and the power of storytelling with Europeana. We are honored to have you today, and we are looking forward for your presentations. At this point, I invite Dr. Mnemosyne, the Director of the UNESCO and ERA Chair on Digital Cultural Heritage, for his welcome speech and to coordinate today's seminar. Thank you. Dr. Ioannidis, we can't hear you.
Yes. This is what's happening. Last second. Thank you. Έντιμη κύριε Υπουργέ, κυρία Μύρια Βασιλείου, πρόεδρε της ΠΟΕΔ και εκπρόσωπος των τριών εκπαιδευτικών οργανώσεων, με τις οποίες σήμερα συνδιοργανώνουμε την εκδήλωση, σε συνεργασία με το Υπουργείο Παιδείας, Πολιτισμού, Αθλητισμού και Νεολαίας, την Κυπριακή Βιβλιοθήκη και την Κλαρίν, την Δαρία, η έδρα της UNESCO αλλά και το ΤΕΠΑΚ. Είναι με μεγάλη τιμή και μεγάλη χαρά που διοργανώνει την πρώτη στο είδος της εκδήλωσης στην Ευρώπη. Διότι είναι η πρώτη φορά, κύριε Υπουργέ, που η Europeana πάει σχολείο και προτίμησε να πάει σχολείο πού? Στην Κύπρο, στο σχολείο της Κύπρου, να έρθει σε εμάς, στους εκπαιδευτικούς της Κύπρου, και είναι χαρά και τιμή μας στα 12 χρόνια της Europeana, η Europeana εμείς να είμαστε η πρώτη χώρα που θα καλωσορίσουμε την Europeana, και σε μια εκδήλωση, η οποία εκδήλωση είναι προς τιμήν της Ευρώπης. Της Ευρώπης, το ξέρετε, 9 Μαΐου, η ημέρα της Ευρώπης, στην οποία έχει υπογραφεί η ημέρα ειρήνης σε αυτήν την Ήπειρο. Και κάτι το οποίο είναι πολύ σημαντικό. Η Ευρώπη πήρε το Νόμπελ Ειρήνης, η Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση, πότε? Κατά τη διάρκεια της Προεδρίας της Κυπριακής Δημοκρατίας του Συμβουλίου της Ευρώπης. Πάλι πολύ τιμητικό για εμάς. Γιατί το τιμούμε την ημέρα εμείς σήμερα και όχι στις 9 του Μαΐου? Είναι Κυριακή, είναι αργία. Και είναι καλύτερα να είμαστε πάντα μπροστά. Και έτσι, όπως και καλωσορίζουμε την Ευρώπη, έτσι και τώρα. Ανοίγουμε την σημερινή μας την ημερίδα με το σεμινάριο, απολογούμε, με τον έντιμον κύριο Υπουργό Προδρόμου. Κύριε Υπουργέ.
Ευχαριστώ. Καλησπέρα σε όλους. Dear guest speakers, εκπρόσωποι, αφού είναι μόνο η κυρία Βασιλείου, όλων των εκπαιδευτικών μας οργανώσεων όμως, αγαπητές και αγαπητοί, πραγματικά είναι με χαρά, με ιδιαίτερη χαρά, που σας καλωσορίζω και εγώ με τη σειρά μου σε ένα διαδικτυακό σεμινάριο με θέμα την ψηφιακή εκπαίδευση και τις δυνατότητες αφήγησης μέσω της Ευρωπαϊκής Ψηφιακής Βιβλιοθήκης. Να καλωσορίσουμε λοιπόν την Europeana, όπως έχει πει και ο κύριος Ιωαννίδης, στα σχολεία μας. We welcome Europeana in our schools, in the schools of Cyprus and our community of the education. Πραγματικά η συγκυρία είναι πολύ εύστοχη. Είναι αυτό τον καιρό η προσοχή μας στραμμένη στην αξιοποίηση της ψηφιακής τεχνολογίας, αλλά όχι μόνο της τεχνολογίας και του αποθέματος που μπορούμε να δημιουργούμε, να έχουμε πάντα διαθέσιμο και να είναι προσβάσιμο και του αποθέματος του πολιτιστικού μας πλούτου, της πολιτιστικής κληρονομιάς στην κλίμακα ολόκληρης της Ευρώπης. Είναι πολύ σημαντικό αυτό και μπορεί να εμπλουτίσει πραγματικά τη σχολική ζωή. Από τον τίτλο και μόνο του σεμιναρίου καταλαβαίνει κανένας την μεγάλη σημασία που μπορεί να διαδραματίσει η ψηφιακή πολιτιστική κληρονομιά στην εκπαίδευση, αλλά και το αντίστροφο θα έλεγα. Αυτή η διαδραστική σχέση ανάμεσα στην εκπαίδευση και στο απόθεμα της πολιτιστικής κληρονομιάς μας μπορεί να ωφελήσει και τις δύο πλευρές. Να σας πω μόνο ότι το πρωί συμμετείχα σε διαδικτυακή εκδήλωση ενός δημοτικού σχολείου με μικρά παιδιά με θέμα τη φιλαναγνωσία. Έχουμε μπει πια για τα καλά έχει μπει στη ζωή μας λόγω της πανδημίας, αλλά και εμείς από την πλευρά μας έχουμε μπει για τα καλά στην λογική της αξιοποίησης των ψηφιακών μέσων. Και ενώ μέχρι σήμερα γνωρίζαμε ότι η Ευρωπαϊκή Ψηφιακή Βιβλιοθήκη, η Europeana, αποτελεί το κατεξοχήν μέσο για την ψηφιακή προβολή και την διατήρηση του κοινού ευρωπαϊκού πολιτιστικού πλούτου από ένα κοινό σημείο πρόσβασης, με αξιόλογες πρωτοβουλίες του Europeana Network Association, όπως είναι η υλοποίηση των προγραμμάτων αυτών Europeana MOOC, Europeana Classroom και Historiana, διαπιστώνουμε τώρα ότι το σημαντικό αυτό περιεχόμενο δεν περιορίζεται μόνο στο να το προβάλλουμε στην απλή προβολή, αλλά ταυτόχρονα διοχετεύεται στην εκπαίδευση, αξιοποιώντας στο μέγιστο δυνατό βαθμό όλα τα τεχνολογικά εργαλεία, τα οποία κάνουν τη γνώση ακόμα πιο προσιτή και συνάμα και ελκυστική για την εκπαιδευτική και την μαθητική κοινότητα ιδιαίτερα. Μέσα από ψηλής ανάλυσης οπτικά ερεθίσματα όπως εικόνες, βίντεο, ήχος, χειρόγραφα, κείμενα αλλά και τρισδιάστατες απεικονίσεις, αυτή η Ευρωπαϊκή Ψηφιακή Βιβλιοθήκη, η Europeana, ενισχύει τις ικανότητες μάθησης από ένα ευρύ φάσμα ψηφιακών αντικειμένων που αναμφισβήτητα θα συμβάλλουν στο να βελτιώσουμε την κατανόηση, την βιωματική θα έλεγα επαφή και την κατανόηση της πολιτιστικής κληρονομιάς και ακολούθως την ενσωμάτωσή της στα προγράμματα διδασκαλίας σε όλες τις βαθμίδες της εκπαίδευσής μας. Επιπλέον παρέχεται και μία ποικιλία εφαρμοσμένων δραστηριοτήτων και αξιόπιστων πηγών από βάσεις δεδομένων όλων των ευρωπαϊκών χωρών, κάτι που ενδυναμώνει ακόμα περισσότερο την ανάπτυξη των ψηφιακών δεξιοτήτων σε ένα...
Δεν ακούμε τον Υπουργό. Έχει γίνει unmute.
Ναι, ταυτόχρονα λοιπόν λέω ότι είναι πολύ σημαντικό ότι μας δίνεται η δυνατότητα να έχουμε εφαρμοσμένες δραστηριότητες και αξιόπιστες πηγές από βάσεις δεδομένων όλων των ευρωπαϊκών χωρών, ακριβώς υλοποιώντας την λογική της κοινότητας που είμαστε, και είναι κάτι αυτό που ενδυναμώνει ακόμα περισσότερο την ανάπτυξη των ψηφιακών δεξιοτήτων σε ένα πλαίσιο πολύπλευρης πρόσβασης στο περιεχόμενο, αλλά και χρήσης πολυγλωσσικών εργαλείων στην εκπαίδευση, κάτι που είναι επίσης ένας από τους άξονες του πολύ μεγάλου επιτεύγματος που το μνημόνευσε πριν ο κύριος Ιωαννίδης, μιας ενωμένης Ευρώπης, της ειρήνης, αλλά και της δημιουργίας μέσα σε τέτοιες συνθήκες ειρήνης και συνεργασίας. Με βάση λοιπόν τα πιο πάνω, θεωρούμε σίγουρα το σημερινό αυτό σεμινάριο, το διαδικτυακό σεμινάριο, σαν ένα εφαλτήριο ένα πρώτο βήμα για καινοτόμες δράσεις στον χώρο της εκπαίδευσης και του πολιτισμού και είμαι βέβαιος ότι μέσα από αυτές τις πρωτοβουλίες οι δύο αλληλένδετοι πυλώνες θα αναπτύξουν ακόμα περισσότερους διάβλους επικοινωνίας, συνέβρεσης, συνεργασίας με σημαντικά ωφέλη για την εκπαίδευση αλλά και για την κοινωνία γενικότερα. Ταυτόχρονα ταγμένοι να υπηρετούμε την εκπαίδευση και τον πολιτισμό, οπωσδήποτε νιώθουμε ότι αυτή την ώρα πρέπει να χαιρετήσουμε τέτοιου είδους δράσεις με ενθουσιασμό και αναμένουμε με πολύ μεγάλο ενδιαφέρον να ενημερωθούμε για τις δυνατότητες και τα εργαλεία που θα μπορούμε να αξιοποιήσουμε μέσα από την εμπειρογνωμοσύνη σας και τις υποδομές που έχουμε και που συνεχώς προσπαθούμε να αναβαθμίζουμε. Να συγχαρώ την έδρα UNESCO, να συγχαρώ το Τεχνολογικό Πανεπιστήμιο της Κύπρου και τέλος να ευχαριστήσω όλους όσοι συνέβαλαν στην πραγματοποίηση του σημερινού σεμιναρίου και να ευχηθώ ολόψυχα κάθε επιτυχία στο έργο σας. Καλή συνέχεια.
Κύριε Υπουργέ, εμείς ευχαριστούμε μέσα σε αυτόν το κλίμα που περνούμε και το βεβαρεμένο φορτίο εργασίας που έχετε. Ένα μεγάλο ευχαριστώ. Το εκτιμούμε αφάνταστα. Να είστε καλά. Και συνεχίζουμε. We are continue now our welcome and opening ceremony. Συνεχίζουμε με τον επόμενο χαιρετισμό, ο οποίος έρχεται από την κυρία Μύρια Βασιλείου, την πρόεδρο της ΠΟΕΛ και εκπρόσωπο των 3 εκπαιδευτικών οργανώσεων. Θα ήθελα να παρακαλέσω όλους όπως έχουν κλειστά τα μικρόφωνα τους, ιδίως την κυρία ή τον κύριο η οποία είναι κάτω από το ακρόνιμο ή το όνομα Γιώτα, διότι συνεχώς ανοίγει το μικρόφωνο ενώ προσπαθώ να... Παρακαλώ, κυρία Μύρια, ο λόγος σε εσάς. Παρακαλώ.
Afternoon, καλό απόγευμα και από μένα. Έντιμε κύριε Υπουργέ Παιδείας, Πολιτισμού, Αθλητισμού και Νεολαίας, εκλεκτοί προσκεκλημένοι, φίλες και φίλοι. Είναι με ιδιαίτερη χαρά που βρίσκομαι σήμερα εδώ, σε αυτή την τηλεσυνάντηση, για να χαιρετήσω εκ μέρους και των 3 εκπαιδευτικών συνδικαλιστικών οργανώσεων ΟΕΛ, ΜΕΚΠΟΕΤ και ΟΛΤΕΚ, την πρώτη προσπάθεια που γίνεται ώστε οι εκπαιδευτικοί μιας χώρας μέλους της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης να ενημερωθούν για τη μεγαλύτερη ψηφιακή βιβλιοθήκη που έχει ως θεματική την πολιτιστική κληρονομιά στον κόσμο, τη Europeana. Οι απαιτήσεις τόσο της κοινωνίας όσο και του σύγχρονου σχολείου αλλάζουν διαρκώς και απαιτούν όλο και περισσότερο τη χρήση της τεχνολογίας ως εργαλείο ενίσχυσης ή και διευκόλυνσης, αν θέλετε, της εκπαιδευτικής διαδικασίας. Τελευταίο 38 παράδειγμα βεβαίως η πανδημία και η άμεση ανάγκη τόσο από εκπαιδευτικούς όσο και από μαθητές και μαθήτριες χρήσης της τεχνολογίας έτσι ώστε έστω και εξ αποστάσεως να παρέχεται σε κάθε παιδί εκπαίδευση και που χρειάζεται αλλά και που δικαιούται. Σε συνθήκες αρκετά δύσκολες και απαιτητικές, οι εκπαιδευτικοί της Κύπρου κατάφεραν να ξεπεράσουν δυσκολίες και ελλείψεις και να ενημερωθούν, να επιμορφωθούν έτσι ώστε να μπορέσουν να συμβάλλουν στην όλη προσπάθεια παρέχοντας την εξαποστάσεως εκπαίδευση. Η Europeana αποτελεί την μεγαλύτερη ψηφιακή βιβλιοθήκη στον τομέα της πολιτιστικής κληρονομιάς στον κόσμο. Η υλοποίησή της αποτελεί μια από τις μεγαλύτερες επιτυχίες της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης, μιας και παρέχει πρόσβαση σε εκατομμύρια εικόνες, κείμενα, ηχητικά αρχεία, βίντεο και τρισδιάστατα αντικείμενα από χιλιάδες ευρωπαϊκές βιβλιοθήκες και αρχεία, μουσεία, αίθουσες τέχνης και οπτικοακουστικές συλλογές. Και όλο αυτό το υλικό είναι προσβάσιμο σε όλο τον κόσμο. Στο σημερινό διαδικτυακό σεμινάριο θα δοθεί ευκαιρία στους συμμετέχοντες και στις συμμετέχουσες να ανακαλύψουν τόσο τις πολλαπλές πηγές, όσο και τα εξειδικευμένα εργαλεία που μπορούν να συμβάλλουν ουσιαστικά στη διαδικτυακή μάθηση που προσφέρει η Europeana και ταυτόχρονα θα αναδειχθεί πώς η πολιτιστική κληρονομιά και η αφήγηση μπορούν να συμβάλλουν στην εκπαιδευτική διαδικασία. Το σημερινό σεμινάριο, όπως έχει πει και ο κύριος Ιωαννίδης, διοργανώνεται στο πλαίσιο των εορτασμών για την ημέρα της Ευρώπης, της 9ης Μαΐου, μέρα που γιορτάζεται η ειρήνη και η ενότητα στην Ευρώπη. Η ημερομηνία αυτή δεν είναι τυχαία, μιας και σηματοδοτεί την επέτειο της ιστορικής διακήρυξης Σουμά. Σε ομιλία του στο Παρίσι το 1950, ο Ροπέρ Σουμάν, ο οποίος τότε ήταν υπουργός εξωτερικών της Γαλλίας, πρότεινε μια νέα μορφή πολιτικής συνεργασίας στην Ευρώπη, η οποία θα απέτρεπε κάθε ενδεχόμενο πολέμου μεταξύ των ευρωπαϊκών λαών. Η πρόταση του Σουμάν θεωρείται η απαρχή της σημερινής Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης. Θερμές ευχαριστίες τόσο στον πρίτανη του Τεχνολογικού Πανεπιστημίου Παναγιώτη Ζαφύρη, αλλά κυρίως στον κύριο Μαρίνο Ιωαννίδη, διευθυντή της έδρας της UNESCO στη ψηφιακή και πολιτιστική κληρονομιά του Τεχνολογικού Πανεπιστημίου Κύπρου, που είχε την ιδέα αλλά και την πρωτοβουλία για αυτή τη διοργάνωση. Ευχαριστίες βεβαίως και στον Γενικό Διευθυντή της Europeana, Χάρη Βερβάγεν. Να ευχαριστήσουμε και τις εισηγήτριες του σημερινού σεμιναρίου, Σούζαν Χάζαν, πρόεδρο δικτύου Europeana, Isabelle Crespo, συντονίστρια του Τμήματος Ανάπτυξης Εκπαιδευτικού Υλικού Europeana, Μάντζη Τσινκελεύσκα, συντονίστρια του Τμήματος Περιεχομένου και Εκθέσεων Europeana και την Beth Deley, σύμβουλο αφήγησης και σύνταξης της Europeana. Κλείνω τον σημερινό μου χαιρετισμό με απόσπασμα από την τότε πρόταση που παρουσίασε ο Γάλλος Υπουργός Εξωτερικών Ροπέρ Σουμάν και η οποία οδήγησε στη δημιουργία της σημερινής Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης. Η παγκόσμια ειρήνη δεν μπορεί να διαφυλαχθεί αν δεν αναλυφθούν δημιουργικές προσπάθειες ανάλογες των κινδύνων που την απειλούν. Η συμβολή που μπορεί να έχει μια οργανωμένη και ζωντανή Ευρώπη στον πολιτισμό είναι απαραίτητη για τη διατήρηση ειρηνικών σχέσεων. Είμαι σίγουρη λοιπόν ότι η Europeana και όλες οι δράσεις που γίνονται και θα γίνουν σε σχέση με τη μεγαλύτερη ψηφιακή βιβλιοθήκη θα συμβάλλουν ουσιαστικά και δυναμικά σε πολλαπλά επίπεδα, τόσο στην εκπαιδευτική διαδικασία, όσο και στη διατήρηση της πολιτιστικής κληρονομιάς, αλλά και στην ειρήνη και την ενότητα μεταξύ των χωρών. Σας ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Αγαπητή Μυρία, ένα μεγάλο ευχαριστώ και για τα καλά λόγια, αλλά και για την άψογη συνεργασία την οποία είχαμε μέχρι στιγμής. Να προχωρήσουμε στον επόμενο ομιλητή, τον Γενικό Διευθυντή της Europeana, τον κύριο Χάρη Φαγιάκεν. Χάρη, the floor is yours, and thank you very much. Kalispera from Cyprus.
Yes, thank you, Marinos, and thank you also, Dr. Vassiliou, for that very nice introduction of me and my colleagues in Greek. And thank you, Mr. Prodomou, Minister of Education and Culture. A very warm welcome to all of you who are here to learn and participate. I must say this is a very exciting event for me and for all of us at Europeana. I had the great pleasure of visiting Cyprus 2 years ago with you, Marinos and Zachos, and I'm extremely grateful to be able to also give something back to you because it was a wonderful experience. Now, what you should know about Europeana is that we've been collecting digital heritage for over 10 years now. And yes, we've created one of the largest freely available resource in Europe of library and museum material. Of course, we're very proud of that. But it really isn't worth much if it's not useful to you as teachers and ultimately to your students. I'm sure you're aware we're operating in a vastly and quick changing world. And I read that in 2013, you can still hear me? Yep, okay, good. In 2013, there was a study from Oxford University, which I thought was very interesting. It was called The Future of Employment. And it stated that 20 years from now, that's really a relatively short time, close to 47% of the jobs that currently exist will not be there anymore. Now think about that. They will be replaced by other jobs, hopefully, but they will be different jobs. And that means that the children that we're now educating, that are in your schools, will need a completely different set of skills to be successful citizens in the world that we are getting into. So at Europeana, we believe that it's critical to keep on bringing our heritage, our past to the future, and to experiment with different learning scenarios all the time. So today you will hear firsthand from my colleagues who have been working with teachers all over Europe for a couple of years and had some really interesting and great outcomes to share with you. So I hope you enjoy it and that you will stay in touch with us also, because I think we also have a lot to learn from you as well. So thank you very much for having us. Marinos, back to you.
Thank you, Harry. And from The Hague, we are coming back to Cyprus, to Limassol, and I'm giving the floor to the rector of the university, Cyprus University of Technology, Παναγιώτης Ζαφύρης. Παναγιώτη, το podium σε σένα, παρακαλώ.
Ευχαριστώ, Μαρίνο. Πρώτον, να συγχαρώ φυσικά την ομάδα του καθηγητή μας, Μαρίνου Ιωαννίδη, για τη διοργάνωση της συγκεκριμένης εκδήλωσης, αλλά προφανώς και για τα πολύ σημαντικά ερευνητικά αποτελέσματα τα οποία προσφέρει στην ακαδημαϊκή κοινότητα τα τελευταία χρόνια γύρω από το συγκεκριμένο τομέα. Ψηφιακή πολιτιστική κληρονομιά είναι ένας τομέας, κατά τη γνώμη μου, που φέρνει μαζί τις τέχνες, το σχεδιασμό, την τεχνολογία και τον πολιτισμό. Κάτι με το οποίο το Πανεπιστήμιο μας διαχρονικά πρωτοπορεί, φέρνοντας μαζί στοιχεία από όλους αυτούς τους τομείς για το καλό της εκπαίδευσης και προφανώς για τη γνώση, που είναι ένας από τους στόχους οποιοδήποτε πανεπιστημίου. Το Πανεπιστήμιο μας, όπως γνωρίζετε, είναι το μόνο πανεπιστήμιο που έχει σχολή καλών και εφαρμοσμένων τεχνών. Είναι το πανεπιστήμιο το οποίο έχει σχολή μηχανικής και έχει τομείς οι οποίοι ασχολούνται με τον πολιτισμό. Άρα η σύζευξη αυτών των τομέων μέσα σε ένα πανεπιστήμιο όπως είναι το ΤΕΠΑΚ είναι και εύκολη και αποδοτική. Στόχος του πανεπιστημίου μας είναι η διάχυση της πληροφορίας, αλλά προφανώς και η επένδυση σε ένα ευαίσθητο πανεπιστήμιο, το οποίο βλέπει αυτές τις συνέργειες με έναν απότερο στόχο της συνεισφοράς του στην κοινωνία, μέσω και των 17 στόχων των Ηνωμένων Εθνών, τους οποίους έχουμε υιοθετήσει σαν βάση μέσα στην οποία δημιουργείται ο στρατηγικός μας προγραμματισμός. Σαν μέρος του στρατηγικού μας προγραμματισμού, προφανώς, είναι και η στήριξη ενέργειων και τομέων, όπως αυτό με τον οποίο η ομάδα του κ. Ιωαννίδη καταπιάνεται, και θα ήθελα ιδιαίτερα να σταθώ στη μεγάλη επιτυχία της ομάδας, εξασφαλίζοντας την έδρα των Ηνωμένων Εθνών UNESCO. Τέλος, χωρίς να το παραβλέψω, η παρέμβαση και η τοποθέτηση του έντιμου κύριου Υπουργού για τη σημασία του συγκεκριμένου αντικειμένου με την εκπαίδευση δείχνει και την στήριξη την οποία οι συγκεκριμένοι τομείς έχουν και θα συνεχίσουν να έχουν και από το Υπουργείο και από την Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση και από άλλους φορείς εξωτερικής χρηματοδότησης. Εύχομαι κάθε επιτυχία, Μαρίνε, στο σεμινάριο σου σήμερα και προφανώς και στην ομάδα σου για ό,τι άλλο ασχοληθεί τα επόμενων καιρών και γνωρίζεις ότι η στήριξη μας είναι συνεχής. Καλή επιτυχία.
Ευχαριστώ, Παναγιώτη. Να είστε καλά για τα καλά τα λόγια. Χωρίς τη στήριξη του Πανεπιστημίου μας δεν θα κάναμε απολύτως τίποτα, διότι εδώ ξεκινήσαμε το χρόνο στον οποίο, κύριε Υπουργέ, η Κύπρος κήρυξε πτώχευση. Ούτε ένα σεν δεν έχουμε πάρει από την Κυπριακή Δημοκρατία, αλλά ούτε και από το Πανεπιστήμιο μας. Είμαστε πολύ περήφανοι. Όχι διότι δεν το ζητήσαμε, διότι δεν θέλουμε. Και είμαστε οικονομικά ανεξάρτητοι. Αυτό είναι πολιτιστική κληρονομιά. Και εμείς την έχουμε κάτω από τα πόδια μας. Πρέπει να την ξηθάψουμε και να την αναδείξουμε, να την δείξουμε στον κόσμο ολόκληρο. Παναγιώτη, ένα μεγάλο ευχαριστώ. Και περνούμε στον επόμενο ομιλητή μας, τον κύριο Κυριάκο Χατζηγιάννη, τον πρόεδρο της Επιτροπής Παιδείας και Πολιτισμού της Κυπριακής Βουλής. Δεν ξέρω αν είναι εδώ. Κύριε Χατζηγιάννη, διότι είχε ακόμη ο άνθρωπος συνάντηση της Βουλής. Εν τούτης όμως πάμε στον επόμενο ομιλητή μας, τον κύριο Στέλιο Χιμώνα, ή στον εκπρόσωπο του, ο οποίος σήμερα το υφυπουργείο του να είναι πάρα πολύ πιεσμένο, λόγω του ότι η πύλη έχει πέσει ξανά πολλαπλές φορές και έτσι ήταν κάτω από μεγάλη πίεση. Δεν ξέρω, μου είπαν όμως ότι θα ήταν εδώ, δεν ξέρω αν είναι εδώ. Αν όχι, τότε προχωρούμε. Ίσως όταν όταν τα καταφέρουμε να ενωθούμε μαζί τους, να έχουμε τον μικρό χαιρετισμό τους. Αν όχι, τότε πάμε αμέσως στη Susan. Susan, the two guests who had to be here with us together this afternoon, Mr. Hadjiyannis and Mr. Himonas, are unfortunately at the moment not here. I don't know if it's because of technical reasons or of their commitments. Nevertheless, we will start with the webinar. And if you allow me, I would like to say just only a few words about Susan. Susan is our neighbor. Susan is coming from Israel, from Jerusalem. And because we are talking now about culture, cultural heritage, we have also the cultural diplomacy. And you know, Israel is not so far away. It takes you so much time from The Hague to go to Brussels, Harry, as us from Limassol to go to Tel Aviv. That's the distance, yeah? So it's, yeah, Susan is our neighbor. And from Limassol, we hand over to Jerusalem. Susan, the floor is yours. Thank you very much. Ευχαριστώ, Susan, yeah?
Kalispera, everybody. Thank you, Marinos. Can
And
you
you
hear
know,
me?
Susan, sorry, you know that you can fly to Cyprus, yeah? You are always welcome, yeah? For a
I'm
coffee here in Limassol.
Coming tomorrow. Yeah, get the coffee ready.
Yes.
You can see my screen. Everybody can hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, Kalispera to everybody. I just wish that I was able to understand Greek. I was watching your faces as everybody was introducing themselves, their programs, their vision, and I could see that everybody was really happy with what was being said, because in your expression, you were kind of going, yeah, I'm smiling. And I just wished I understood more. So it sounds like an awful lot is going on there. Okay, with no further ado, let me introduce you to the program. We have a very exciting program, and we will try and keep to schedule, although we're a little bit late. And Marinos, let me know if our esteemed guests arrive during the program, and we'll do a break-in and introduce them. Just let me know. So we would like to introduce you to Europeana and what you can do. I'm now talking to you, the teachers, okay? I understand we have at least 200 teachers here, and our program is for you. Our program in Europeana is actually based around the resources, the activities and the ideas that can help you in the classroom, in your studio work, in university, in research, because of the rich resources that are available in Europeana and the activities around them. So you will be hearing from 4 people here, from Isabelle Crespo. She's going to be talking about digital education with Europeana resources and their amazing resources. And then Maggie will come to talk about the education engagement. And you'll get some good ideas, I hope, with Gift It Up and the editorials. So she will introduce you to that very, very rich resources. And then our dear Beth Daly, who I know that Olga and Francesca, who are in the audience, have enjoyed their storytelling task force in Europeana. It's good to see you again today, and we'll be hearing from her. And after that, it's your turn. You're going to build your own micro story, and you'll get very specific instructions, and the feedback afterwards, we will love to share with you. So let us know, share your story with us, and we'll bring all the stories together, and then you can use them in the classroom and activities that you build on after this meeting. So after that, we'll have a little quick wrap up, and everybody will go home after a long day teaching, no doubt, in the classroom, and we're really appreciating this time of day that you're joining us after a day in the classroom, in the university, in the office, and take time to join us. So with no further ado, let me introduce, you'll be needing some external platforms while we do this. So first thing you need either another screen or another application, your smartphone or another computer or another screen. You'll be asked to go to Mentimeter, and the address is menti.com. And then when it's your turn, at the end of the program, you're going to search yourself for a castle in the sky in Europeana. And then we're going to share it on a Padlet, and I know everybody knows what Padlet is, but if you share it on Isabelle's Padlet, and the address is in the email, then we can share this with everybody. And after we've met our Europeana representatives, you are invited to join us at the Network Association, but particularly in the educators community, and you'll find these resources at your fingertips. So let me introduce, Isabelle Crespo with no further ado. Isabelle, up to you now.
Thank you very much, Susan. So now I'm just trying to share my screen and go to the presenting mode. So welcome everyone. Thank you for inviting us and spend some time to discover all these resources for education from Europeana. So I think we all would agree that cultural heritage is very important in education. Make sense of the past, understand the past, give meaning to the future and the present. But maybe it's less obvious, less evident why digital cultural heritage is important in education. Let me just remove this. I think this is much better. So let me refer to this key point of the Digital Education Action Plan from the European Commission for the period 2021-2027 that says digital education content and training in digital skills will be essential for staff. They will benefit from stronger support for online, in-person, or blended teaching. A trusted digital education ecosystem requires high-quality content, user-friendly tools, and learner-centered approach. So these are all principles, parameters that guide all the Europeana education resources. So what are the offer? Which is the offer of Europeana? Which is the added value of our content? So as you have heard, Europeana has millions of items in our platform for many different kind of disciplines and subjects, for arts and sciences. And this is something that we want to, a cliche that we want to get rid of, that cultural heritage, digital cultural heritage is just for arts and humanities. Digital cultural heritage is especially attractive, engaging for STEM disciplines to engage with students with complex subjects like mathematics. And I will give you an example later on. But the content of Europeana also is possible thanks to the contribution of thousands of institutions all over Europe. This means a huge diverse content, cultural background. We have also content in 37 European metadata in 37 European languages. We are legal in the sense that every item in Europeana has its right statement, copyright license. So in any time students and teachers know what can be done with this content. It's free. You don't have to. It's freely accessible. You don't have to sign in just for creating galleries. And this will Maggie will give us a taste about that. And it's digital. We can access through any digital device. So as you can imagine, this is a huge source of knowledge, and our mission is to bring it to every school, every educator, every learner all over Europe. And how do we do this? Partnering with ministries of education, with associations and networks at the European level. Some of them I'm sure that they are familiar to you, like eTwinning, European SchoolNet, but also with the industry, with the techs, with the software developers, with entrepreneurs who are using our content to create new learning products and resources. This is an example of Canva. This is the famous graphic design portal that they have a free module for students and teachers. And we've recently integrated more than 6,000 images in open license, Creative Commons and public domain, there for everyone to use and enjoy. So one of our main partners in our strategy in education is European SchoolNet. This is initiative of the European Commission as Europeana, that which mission is to foster new pedagogies, innovative technologies in education in the classroom. So with them, over the last years, we have been building a community of Europeana teachers organized in a group of ambassadors and user group teachers all of them representing different countries in Europe. And they have helped us doing what? Creating learning material, pedagogical material. We call them learning scenarios. We have produced so far more than 500 of them. They've helped us also to spread the word of our resources and content at national level in their own language via webinars and promotional videos, and also in the design co-creation of a massive open online course that I will tell you a little bit more in a second. Since summer 2020, due to the pandemic, talking with professionals of the sector, of the cultural heritage sector, understanding the struggle that they had of moving all their operations overnight to the digital environment, especially museum educators, we've intensified our collaboration with NEMO. This is the European network of museum organizations, and we've involved in this network of ambassadors, museum educators. The idea behind this strategy is to connect formal and informal education and explore new hybrid spaces for learning. As a result of this collaboration, we have produced a new MOOC, Digital Education with Cultural Heritage. It started 15 March, it will end up sometime soon, but the content will remain there for anyone who wants to understand, to know a bit more how to introduce digital technologies, so you can access and take advantage of the course. So this course, main goal is twofold. Increase the use of digital cultural heritage as trusted source, as reliable source in education, very important in this era of disinformation, regardless the subject you teach. And secondly, empower educators in the use of new technologies, digital technologies, but also pedagogies. In all of them, obviously, is essential for the development of 21st century skills for teachers and students. So we've been surveying consistently the participants in our MOOC to understand if we can improve our resources and this capacity building opportunity. And to understand also the impact we are having on upgrading, upskilling their capacity. So these are the top 5 competencies we are helping them to promote and to develop. All of them, they are aligned with the key competencies of the framework of the European Commission. But for us, it's especially also important to understand the impact we are having on students. They are the ultimate beneficiary of our resources, and we do this through the implementation of our learning scenarios, also about formative assessment and rubrics. But let's go together, have a tour in Europeana.eu. This is the platform where you can find all the educational resources, all the million of objects available for you. These items are available through the general search here at the upper part of the website. But because we know that 50 million of objects in images, videos, and recordings is a lot to explore. We have organized our collections. We have clustered them in different topics, important topics, in features, but also in editorials via blog, exhibitions, and galleries. But Maggie will tell us a little bit more about that. So just let's try a search with you. Imagine that you have to do tomorrow a lesson planned about the Apostle Barnabas. So we are going to type Barnabas here at the top of the page, and we'll get over 1,000 items. Just let me stop a second and give you a little tip. When we talk about people or places, when you search by the name, it's quite straightforward, and it's possible that you will get some results. When you try to find other keywords, it might be a bit tricky. You can imagine that we cannot translate millions and millions of metadata to the different languages of the European Union. So you will have to try with different language versions to improve your search. But in that case, we have got results, which is quite a lot, but we can see that the first images we get here are from the Hungarian composer. And we have still a lot of pages to search for. So what we provide is filter options for you to narrow down the search. You can do it through the collections we just seen seconds ago. You can also search by type of media, image, text, sound, or video. This is very important. You can narrow down by items that have limited reuse because they have copyright issues. Or if you click yes, you will get all the images, items that they have open licenses. So in the case that you need to create a product with your students, a video that you especially want to show in the Facebook group of the school, then you definitely have to go for this option. But if you just want to have an exhibition, an activity with your students online, and you just want to let them search on the platform, of course, all the options are available for you. You can also search by country, in the case you are interested about Greek or Cyprus content. And then if this is still not enough, you can go for a more sophisticated search via language, institution, colors, if you like, image orientation, image size, or file format. So imagine that we just want nice art recordings. And of course, we want to create a video to promote on social media. We'll go for the yes. And then we'll get 57 images, nice images coming from sketches from the Rijksmuseum, illuminated manuscripts like this one from the British Library. So if we click one of them, we'll get the item page. And in all these item pages, you always get the right statement, in that case, public domain, which allows fully reuse. You can cut, paste, whatever you can imagine. You can share and download. Then you will always get the title of the piece, a little description, depending how much content has the institution provided. And then the most important information that can be extended through the all metadata, all the content metadata provided by the institution. So, and at the bottom, you will always get related items or suggested items. So let's just reset our search. We can go back and we can say, look, I just want my students search for content from Cyprus about the apostle. I just have to click here. I don't mind too much about the copyrights because they just have to look and search. Here you will find a nice collection of stamps from the Cyprus University of Technology. And you can ask your students to recreate the paintings or do something interesting and funny with those items. But we know that you are always, time is critical with teachers. You don't have always time to look for content and create your own content. We've thought about that. So we have provided for you a space for teachers, educators, students. We call it Europeana Classroom. And here you will find all the resources, material, learning scenarios that we have produced with those teachers all over Europe, but also with partners. It's a connector, it's a hub. Here you will always get an entry point to a third-party platform where this content is hosted. In the first section of Europeana Classroom, you will always see the highlights, things that we are constantly updating according to, of course, the situation. Distance learning is quite important right now. But we've also created campaigns, and now we have launched the Europeana Book Month, where we have invited students, teachers in our community to suggest us masterpieces of world literature that they are useful for them in the classroom. And this is a campaign that is running on social media, and on 23 April, we'll complete this gallery and make it available for our community. But perhaps the section that you will find most interesting and more useful for your practice is the the one devoted to learning scenarios. Here you will find hundreds of learning scenarios organized in methodologies, innovative trends in education, all of them student-centered, like STEAM, project-based learning, inquiry-based science education, content language integrated learning, or edutainment. Also around, we have organized those learning scenarios around cross-curricular subjects, hot topics in education, like environment or citizenship. We have also made an effort translating some materials. Most of the content that we produce is in English, but we are making selections of best learning scenarios and translating them regularly to other European languages, and also by level of education, primary, secondary, vocational. So let's just find out how one of these learning scenarios look like. So I'm gonna go to the STEAM as referred at the beginning, and I'm gonna show you, you will see that there are many different nice examples with really attractive titles. And I'm gonna take this one about fighting robots of the Napoleonic era. This is a learning scenario designed by Portuguese teacher, Arturo Coelho. He works in a school in Venda do Pinheiro. This is a village nearby Lisbon that had to fight in 1810 against the Napoleonic troops. And they built a Quinta do Estrangeiro fort. So what he wanted is to recreate the battle that took place in that period with his students. And he built an interdisciplinary activity where history, arts, physical education, and ICT took place in one lesson. He also organized outdoors activities, visiting the fort, the Quinta do Estrangeiro fort, to help the students to reconstruct the events. They had to implement some strategies and design thinking, also coding, but the role of Europeana was mostly on providing historical content, background of the period. They had to look for weaponry like rifles, cannons, insignias, flags, maps, military dresses, all related with the Napoleonic era, to make sense of the activity. So this is the description of the learning scenario, but all the learning scenarios are at the bottom, available in a Word document for you to use it as a template and adjust it, because we know that every example is specific for specific age groups, but you can be imaginative and take the best and create your own. And also in PDF. So you can see that all these learning scenarios are normally 3-4 pages, no more, giving a detail step-by-step on how to implement this learning scenario, age group, data sets that you will need from Europeana, everything there with links, aim of the lesson, outcomes of the lesson, the trend, innovative pedagogy they are using, and the 21st century skills that they are promoting with this activity. So this is how the learning scenarios look like. Okay, let me go back to the Europeana classroom space. And here we won't have time today because there's many other interesting things to know about. But at the bottom of the section, you will find Historiana. This is here you will find the link direct to the platform. Historiana is a virtual learning environment for history and citizenship education, where students and teachers can interact, search the different source collections already prepared for you, learning activities already prepared. So it's a free open resource. All that we do in Europeana is our open educational resources, so they are free of charge. And also, if you want to know more about all the participative co-creative tools we offer, you will find here application and games, video tutorials on how to build Minecraft spaces, Mozilla Hub spaces with Europeana content, tutorials on how to create GIFs, and you will hear more about it in a second. And also Reinventing Beethoven Challenge. This is a really nice project as well. And coloring books for primary education, simple and beautiful resource. So this will be basically all for me today, but I'm gonna just finish with a couple of, if it lets me go, now, a couple of invitations for you. First of all, I would love that you join our community. In education, you can access through the QR code to all the information relative to that. But you can also just follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook. In there, we regularly update and provide with new ideas, challenges, campaigns, things that you can get engaged, you and your students. And also you have the email of the community. If you have any questions or ideas, you can always reach us. And secondly, let's go to a quick Mentimeter. So you can go to menti.com. You can do it through if you have your smartphones there, and you can access through the QR code. Otherwise, you can use the code 35734314. So I'm gonna just open it. If this lets me go there. Here it is. Fantastic. I see that you are already doing some answering some questions. It's just 4 very short, easy questions about to understand who you are, who are out there, and then how we can improve our resources, who is interested in our materials and content. A second question, I will just run to give time to my colleagues to explain other interesting things. So you can also answer which subject you teach. That's interesting for us to know. French, okay, everybody's starting slowly, but we'll keep the Mentimeter open during all the sessions and a few hours later, not too long, because unfortunately, if I close the Mentimeter page, you cannot answer anymore. And which is your preferred content media? This is also very interesting for us to know, because we are working a lot on audiovisual material now, how to make it available for education. We know that many content on Europeana platforms regarding audiovisual content is on copyright. So we are doing a big campaign to work with cultural heritage institutions and with teachers to change that situation. Also, we would like to know which kind of resources are more useful for you. General search, learning scenarios, ready-to-use material. We would like to see, because sometimes we get very positive feedback about the general search, because teachers are learning to curate their own lesson plans, and they really like to search for raw material to build these activities. And finally, also this will give us a taste or an understanding of how well or bad we are doing things on education. If you would like to recommend all these resources and content to other colleagues and peers. And if lately, just a last slide where you can give your ideas, impressions, anything you would like to comment. And I'm gonna end up here, going back to the presentation and stop sharing. Thank you very much for your time. And I think now I'll give the floor to Maggie.
Thank you, Isabelle. That was a great introduction to Europeana. Let me try 1 second. I'm gonna share my screen now. I hope you can see it now. Yeah, great. So, yes, so hello everyone. Thank you for inviting us. Very happy to be here. And my name is Małgorzata Szynkielewska, Maggie is for short, and I'm the content and exhibition coordinator for Europeana. And together with Isabelle, I'm a part of a team called Collection Engagement. And this name comes from the fact that one of our main goals in the team is to engage the audience with cultural heritage collections. So how do we do that? Well, by publishing interesting editorial that Isabelle showcased you in between the educational material. And we try to have this editorial on diverse topics and from diverse sources. So we don't do it only ourselves, but we provide a platform for all cultural heritage institutions across Europe to cooperate and highlight their own stories. And every time we publish a piece of editorial, we want it to serve a purpose. This purpose is usually one of the three main objectives that we want to achieve. We want to encourage the audience to discover and engage with the content. We want to tell compelling stories about collections, people, and objects. Or we want to showcase Europeana as a diverse and rich resource. So as you can see, one of the objectives is telling compelling stories. Why is that? Well, it's because successful storytelling, and that's true whether it's digital or not, involves emotional engagement. And through that emotional engagement, for that emotionally engaged storytelling, we would like to connect with our audience. And cultural heritage domain, as you probably know, is filled with interesting stories. But the challenging part is to make them engaging and relatable, similarly to when you want to engage and inspire your students. So later, my lovely colleague Beth will be talking about the ways of making your digital storytelling successful. But I would like to tell you a little about what are the formats that we use in Europeana to tell these compelling stories. So the most simple of our storytelling attempts and the format we use most are probably blogs. Blogs for us are designed specifically to tell a story of the individual artist, of particular artwork, maybe an institution. Sometimes it is a story of a place or a concept. A couple of times per year, we run what we call a campaign or a season. In a nutshell, it's this overarching theme under which we group our activities and publish a series of connected pieces. Isabelle was mentioning already that right now we're having Europeana Book Month, but also in March, which is Women's History Month, we were focusing on the theme and publishing blogs about remarkable women. On the right here, you can see one of those blogs telling the story of Alice Guy Blachal, who was the first female director. Okay, so in short, blogs are kind of self-explanatory for us. They are the brief pieces that illuminate the topic, good engaging text illustrated with a mix of beautiful or interesting images. So let's move to the second format, exhibitions. I'm personally overseeing the full production of our online exhibition, so this is the format closest to my heart. And here we enter what we would like to be a full storytelling experience, where our audience can immerse themselves in a story as much as possible. So we use a long-form narrative that we hope will engage the readers with text and imagery. And in exhibition, we can sometimes tell multiple stories connected through a topic in order to make them as informative as possible. Always remembering that the text should be exhaustive, but the whole experience of following the exhibition should be light and engaging. And even though there's a longer text, it is still a very visually focused format. So in both of those formats, we use different techniques for digital curation. What do I mean by that? Well, the most important is, of course, a well-written story. But later you will hear about how it is beneficial to search for hidden or overlooked stories. For example, like with the Women's History Month, we were actively highlighting historical figures that are lesser known because of the gender imbalance. Secondly, we have a couple of interactive elements that can be used within the formats. Not too many, just not to take you too much out of the story, but for example, This slider that you can see allows the comparison of two images representing the same object. So here you have a drawing of rose made by one artist that can be compared with the image later that was copied by one of the famous rose researchers for his own files, which is kind of also a fascinating story. And similarly, we like to incorporate videos, audio files, other media in order to enhance the experience. And finally, something that is not always possible, but what is important from our perspective, as Isabelle said, because of the international audience, we have the possibility to display our editorial in 24 EU languages. Of course, this does not mean that all blogs and exhibitions are translated, but when browsing Europeana in your native language, you will see the content in your localization, if it's available. So blogs and exhibitions are our two editorial formats that are, of course, I mean, as everything in Europeana, free and available. So you can go to the website, read, get inspired, share with your students. And to wrap up this section, I would like to recommend you checking our latest exhibitions, the Beaver's Journey. The URL is at the top. And I wanted to tell you about it because it is a great story about how beavers were on the verge of extinction and how a small town in Norway contributed to their return in Scandinavia. And this is a good example of everything that I have been just talking about. It's not a very well-known story. It's a great example of engaging with environmental history. It's a combination of archival materials, some new media, and right now it's available only in English, but there will be more languages version this year. So feel free to check it out. And that cute animation of a beaver is going to be a segue, as I would like to tell you now more about Give It Up. So, except the editorial formats that I mentioned, which are mainly created by us or for our partners, for our audience to consume, we look for ways to engage the public more directly. And we want to encourage them to create. And one of the attempts to do that is Give It Up. If you haven't heard, this is an annual gift-making competition for the most creative reuse of digitized cultural heritage material. It is run by us, but in close cooperation with Digital Public Library of America, Digital NZ from New Zealand, Trove Digital Library from Australia, and it's supported by Giphy, which I think is the biggest gift database at the moment. Last year, for our 7th edition, we have also been joined by Japan Search, a platform giving access to digitized material across Japan, and DAC museums in Kolkata, who are the pioneering in opening up the digitized content in India. So it's a real global event. So how does it work? Through the whole month of October, we are getting hundreds of people submitting their own gifts based on the cultural heritage material that is either public domain or openly licensed and findable through Europeana or our partnering website. Then, after the submission is closed, the external jury will pick their favorites within different categories, and additionally, we have a public voting for the People's Choice Award. And one of the special categories that we consistently include is a school category for children and teenagers, because it's a great way to engage the students. And every year we have some class groups that participate from like Romania, Lithuania, all over the place. And the students are encouraged by the teachers to submit the GIFs and often use the material from their own country. So what is appealing about the whole competition? It's an interesting for various audience groups, so creators, spectators, but also, as I mentioned, it's a good opportunity for educators and students. There is a very low entry point, no expertise in cultural heritage or art is needed. So even like older children that have basic digital literacy skills can do it, no problem. We have submissions from like 10, 12-year-old students. And it's often exploring a different type of content than during a regular visit at the museum or the library. And we always also help people with getting started by providing tools and inspiration. So yeah, for example, that GIF there has been created by one, I think it was a winner of the last year school category. So what I mean by the tools that we provide, we publish series of blogs explaining simple GIF making techniques. We always highlight some inspirational content that can be used for GIF making because it's open. We organize GIF making workshops also online, but also the participants of previous editions start to help other participants. So for example, last year, one of the contestants, as you can see in the tweet, published a Skillshare course teaching GIF making using Europeana content, while another participant prepared a step-by-step guide in French explaining how to find content and create the GIFs. So what is so crucial in Give It Up as an activity is that it allows the past to meet present, and it encourages people to express themselves about things important to them and to the world. So here, for example, on the left, you can see one of the winners from last year who titled her Give Social Distancing. I invite you, of course, to participate in Give It Up together with your students, but that's going to be in October. So to close the talk, I would just like to give you a small idea of how to engage with Europeana right now. And the easiest way to do would be to create your own gallery. So next to blogs and exhibition, Europeana is publishing Curated Galleries, and recently we also added the feature of creating the galleries by the public. So anyone above 13 years old can create their own galleries. So how to do that? Well, first you have to create an account. As you can see in this animation, on the landing page we have a section called Get Involved, and you go to Curate a Gallery card, and then you will see the full manual on how to make an account and what you can do later with it. So no worries if I'm going too fast, this is all available online. So now that you have your own account, you can find your favorite content. Isabelle was already mentioning the ways of filtering through Europeana, so it shouldn't be a problem now. And when you have an account, you will be able to save any of the items available. So now that we have a nice item, the animation is skipping, you just click a plus sign underneath, or sometimes on the top right corner, then you create a new gallery, give it a title, give it a short description, and you can make your gallery public or private. Your public galleries will not appear on Europeana, but will be visible on your profile. So it won't appear in like a gallery section, but they will be visible on your profile. and you can share them with your friends or students. And now that you create a new gallery, you can save all the items that you found in Europeana. You can either add them to your galleries or save them as your favorites with a little heart, a like button, basically. And that's it. It is that simple. So I invite you to try it yourself. And thank you very much for your time. I'm gonna stop sharing now. Okay. Yes, and I will give the floor to Susan.
Isabelle, Maggie, thank you so much. It was so rich. And I hope our audience is totally bedazzled because we've seen such amazing things and so much of them. So one good thing I want to remind you, we're recording the session. So if you miss anything, you can then go to our blog, you can go to our recording, go to the event page, and then we'll make sure that you have the access to the recording and you can go through quietly in your own time. And obviously, once you join the education's community, you'll have access to all this directly. You can have all this, the newsletters, invitations to take part in webinars pushed into your mailbox. You don't have to think about it, it'll come to you. And if you are really engaged and you really want to join Europeana with a zest, you can join a task force. And an example, open only for membership, members who are of the association, the Network Association. But an example of what a Europeana task force can do and has done, I want to introduce Beth. So please, Beth, carry on from here.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me and that you can see my screen. That's all okay, is it? Okay, so thank you, Susan, and thank you, of course, to Marinos for inviting us to speak today. It's been great so far, and I'm really excited to share what the Storytelling Task Force has been doing. So for the last 6 months, I've been privileged to be the chair of what we call a task force at Europeana, looking into digital storytelling with cultural heritage. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the work we've done, and then I'm going to share some of the practical storytelling tips with you that we have put together as a task force, and I hope that you'll find them useful, and I hope that you'll be able to use them to help get your students excited about the topics that you share with them. So first of all, I'll tell you a little bit about the task force. So what that means to us, it is one of the ways that we work within the Europeana Network Association. So members can come together, can volunteer to join a task force to work on an area that's of interest to them. So here, we set up a task force to look at Europeana as a powerful platform for storytelling. And that's a phrase that came to us from the strategy set for the Europeana initiative by the European Commission. So we were looking at what that means. What is powerful storytelling? What does it mean to be a powerful platform? How can we help Europeana and others to do really powerful digital storytelling? So we had 26 Network Association members from 15 countries joining us, and that includes Maggie and Susan that you've heard from today, and members from Cyprus and Greece as well. I know some of them are there. Francesco, Eliana, and Olga are there. Hi guys. And the aim of the task force was to identify research and develop recommendations based on examples that we'd found around the web of interesting, engaging and effective storytelling practices that use cultural heritage. And we want what we found out to help feed into the development of Europeana as a powerful platform for storytelling, and to help others in the cultural sector, or like yourselves, educators who want to put digital storytelling to good use. So one of the things we did was create a long list of examples. We looked around on the net to see what we liked, basically, what was out there, what did we really enjoy, and then we looked at it to see why we enjoyed it. So we've drawn on a range of expertise from members, and we've considered a variety of storytelling approaches, formats and platforms. And there is an exciting and sometimes, has to be said, overwhelming amount of storytelling methods available online. But while digital storytelling can take many different forms, we found that the best examples, what they have in common is that they engage people on a really personal and emotional level, and Maggie mentioned that earlier on. So storytelling is about emotion. And audiences, and that of course includes your students, want and need to feel informed. They need to learn something by these digital stories, but they also want to feel curious, they want to be immersed, they want to be inspired, and they want to feel connected. So it's that sets storytelling apart from other content types. And it's this that gives storytelling such a great role to play in engaging people and audiences and students. So once we've got our long list, which you can see there in a Padlet form, we looked at 3 case studies in particular and analysed those. And we looked at those to see how they create that emotional engagement that we'd recognised, that we'd loved when we'd explored our examples, to see what they had in common. So our examples were a Choose Your Own Adventure Twitter thread from the Egham Museum in the UK, that's pictured on the right. Met Kids, which is a resource for children and students from the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And top left is a picture of change for a world in constant motion, which is basically, it's a long blog or it's a close read from the New York Times. And it's about just a single artwork by Hokusei, but it's incredibly engaging. So we looked at these 3 case studies in detail. We looked at our long list of examples and the information we'd gathered about those. And what we did as a task force is we came up with 7 tips for digital storytelling with cultural heritage. And what you're getting today is actually, it's a world premiere, it's a preview. It's the first time we've shared these tips outside of our task force meetings, because our report and our finished results are in the very final stages of having their I's dotted and T's crossed. So this isn't out in the world yet. You're the first to hear this, and we'll be publishing our report in a few weeks' time. So I hope that these tips I'm going to share will help you in designing your own learning materials for students, or perhaps when you're selecting resources that you share with them, if you want to try and think of which ones are really good examples, hopefully these tips can help, or possibly in helping your students when you're helping them develop their own storytelling skills. So I've got 7 tips for you. The first one, we found that of the examples that we all loved, they were personal. The personal stories can really bring the past to life, and they help people relate to history on that emotional level. So can you present individual stories that include personal experiences as well as historic deeds? This helps people and students to imagine themselves in another person's shoes. Consider the human significance of your cultural artifacts and sites. Who designed and made them, who used them, and why? And if you've got a personal passion for something, then share that, because that's really infectious, and I'm sure that's what you do as teachers, day to day anyway. And of course, you need to be sensitive to social and cultural contexts and the emotional impact that personal stories can have on your audiences. So with each of these examples, I've got a screenshot of one of our long list, one of the things that we liked that we think does this really well. So here we've got Your Story, Our Story, which is from the Tenement Museum in New York. And they invite and share personal stories of US immigration and migration with a focus on cultural objects and identity. So the next one is Be Informal. So people want to learn from experts, of course, but it shouldn't be a chore. It shouldn't be boring. Overly academic language can really put people off. While on the other hand, you don't want to dumb down the language that you use. You've got to find the right balance. So you might have people in your team and your staff who are naturally expert storytellers. Use them, learn from them. Or within you might have people, you might know people who are journalists, writers, or if you're working with cultural heritage, heritage staff, you can have some really good storytellers there. So really use the people that you have with the skills that they have. And try conversational language. How would you explain something to a friend? And avoid jargon and specialized terms. We find if you must use it, you need to consider explaining unfamiliar words so that they don't put people off. And of course, you might need to find that you're adapting your language and your style to the needs of your audience. So different age groups, different classes will have different, you'll talk to a primary class in a different way than you'd talk to, a group of teenagers. So you can adapt your resources to your audience. Now, this example I really love is from the Twitter feed of the Museum of English Rural Life. And what happened is that they found, genuinely, a live bat in their rare bookstore. And this Twitter feed tells you about that. It's very informal, it's very funny, but it also intersperses that with real information about this historic archive of books that this bat had got into, and facts about bats. So they've taken an opportunity there, and they've use this opportunity to share useful information, trustworthy information about their archive and about bats alongside a really informal tone of voice. I really love that one. They're really great to follow. Okay, number 3, tell hidden stories. So much cultural history remains untold, and we can bring that hidden heritage to light to engage students and to create a sense of community, a sense of identity and shared history. So when you're creating your materials, can you find stories that haven't been told elsewhere? You know, when you're choosing subjects, consider who is missing from the picture and can you give them a voice? Try to give a voice to a range of people. Now, with digital, this is a real opportunity for digital platforms. You can look for hidden gems. You know, not everything is available in a museum. Some things are in storage, they're difficult to access, but digitally they can be available. So you can really search and find hidden gems, things that perhaps no one's ever really noticed before, and you can use those. But also your students themselves can be a great source of ideas, and they can collaborate on cultural storytelling to ensure that their different voices are heard. So you can use storytelling as a starting point for engagement with them rather than the end in itself. So this example is Minority Report, the Jews of Lebanon from Arab News. And this uses personal accounts, photographs and graphics to explore the Jewish experience in Lebanon. Okay, next one. Illustrate your points. So the cultural heritage sector and Europeana have a wealth of visual imagery, and that can be used to really powerful effect. Storytelling isn't just about text. Now, it doesn't mean you have to use fancy formats or, you know, really complicated technology, but it means you can consider using visuals to work together with your text in the materials that you share or that you develop or that you encourage your students to develop. So how can images illustrate the story? Are you going to use them as illustrations, or are they themselves the main focus? Remember that long written or spoken narratives can be quite hard to engage with. You know, you can break them up with visual or audio material, and I've seen from that Menti that a lot of you really like videos. So you can break that text up with videos, and building in time to reflect on the material that can really enrich the experience. With digital, we can zoom into large, high quality images, and that really gets people going. That really increases curiosity, and it can help direct people to those key details that they might have overlooked if they just had one a small image. So consider your classes, your students. What sort of imagery would they find most engaging? And again, that will change from group to group and age to age. So here is an example of Met Kids, which is, as I said, from the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. And you can see that they use a very sort of picture book almost style of illustration there, and as well as colours and animation to bring that museum's collection to life for young visitors. Okay, I think this is number 5, signpost your journey. So the best stories, they take people on a clear journey, and in digital storytelling, good signposting can really help keep people on track. So what I mean by that is that people know where they are, they know where they are in the story, they know they can move forwards or backwards or up or down, whatever it might be in the thing, and they know how to come out, how to get back to the beginning, that kind of thing. So having a clear sense of the narrative and the digital structure will help keep your story sort of compact, contained, and it'll help capture and direct people's attention. So if you're developing your own materials, consider mapping out the narrative path before you start, and keep that navigation simple so the visitor always knows where they are and how to get back to previous content. And remember that digital makes it really easy to link to other stories or information, so you can make the most of that, but also ensure that each storytelling element can stand on its own. So this example is from a website called Things That Talk, and this uses really high quality imagery and sort of mini tours of each image. So this is garlic skin. This is a close-up of garlic skin, and you can see there's a box there, and I've clicked on something and it's taken me to step 1 of this tour, and it tells me it's step 1 of 5, and at the bottom I've got arrows left and right so I can move from step to step. And I don't know if you can see, but in the middle of the garlic skin there's a little circle with a crosshairs in the middle of it, and there are several of those on these pictures. You click on them, takes you to another part of that image, and something else will appear in this box. So maybe step 2 or step 3, depending on which one you've clicked. So there's different ways of moving around that storytelling experience, but we always know where we are and we know that we're in control. Okay. Number 6, be specific. What we found with the examples that we looked at was that the ones we like, they focus on specific topics first, rather than a general broad topic. So generally speaking, we found it works best to proceed from details first to the big picture, rather than the other way around. So if you're developing a learning material, what is the focus? Make sure you're aware of that. Is there a particular image or character or an event that lies at the emotional heart of your story that you want to tell? So begin with that and make sure you return to it throughout the story, even if you go off to different places throughout. And you can take time on the details. You know, if a story is chronological, you can make space to talk for longer about key events, or if it's thematic, you can give examples for each theme. But you can always come back to your original focus. And this is a general point: avoid sort of overly generalized language or sweeping statements. I think that's good advice generally. And remember that those personal stories and those well-chosen images that we've already talked about, they can help give your story a specific focus. So this example is from Art UK, and this is a section of their website where they have invited curators and writers to discuss just one specific work of art and its impact on them, on society, or on the artist who made it. And that's called Artwork in Focus. And of course, as you can see there, once you have a series of specific things with a specific focus, you get sort of by default a more general, bigger view made up of those specific focuses. Okay, and the last one, be evocative. So of course, cultural history stories, they need to be based in fact. Your learning needs to be based in fact, but that doesn't mean that the facts need to be dry. So don't be afraid to have a play, to use poetic or descriptive language or evocative imagery and approaches, because that's much more likely to be engaging. So you can use descriptive terms and imagery. You can invite the viewer to imagine an event or a place and place themselves within a scene. And consider all the senses. Like we've said, if you're able to use audio or video, this might help you bring something to life. And when I say evocative, I don't mean flowery language or overly complicated language. Just it doesn't have to be academic, sort of dry text. So this example is it's actually my favorite one, I think. This is from one of our case studies. It's the long blog from the New York Times on this one single hokusei woodcut. And what I love about it is its evocative language. So on the right, we have the image, and as you scroll up and down, that's all it is. It's a linear journey. So, you know, again, these don't have to be hugely interactive. They don't have to be fancy. Storytelling is something that we can do whatever level of resources we have. But here, the writer, the text is on the left-hand side, then you probably can't read it, but I'll read it out to you. So we start at the top with this big image, and we zoom in, and we have the first text that says, early spring, a heavy sky, chilly but not bitter. We're near Suruga Bay on the south coast of Honshu. Maybe you can taste the salt in the air. And I just think that's so evocative, combined with the beautiful hokusei image there. And so, yeah, that's absolutely my favorite example. So that's it. That's my 7 storytelling tips. Like I say, these are did a world premiere for you. So look out for more from the Storytelling Task Force by following Europeana at our website, pro.europeana.eu, and following us on Twitter. And you'll find more of the news from the task force in a few weeks, when we can share everything that we've come up with World. And we'll be having our own webinar in June as well. So look out for that. Thank you. Over to you, Susan.
Oh, Beth, that's absolutely marvellous. And it was a great honour to be able to take part in that. I just want a little intervention here. We're very happy here now that Dr. Kyriakos Hagiannis, is he here? Are you here? I understand you managed to get away from Parliament. He's the Cyprus Parliament Chair of Committee on Educational Affairs and Culture. So would you like to address us? We'd be really happy if you could do so.
Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ και θα ήθελα να σας συγχαρώ όλους για την εξαιρετική αυτή διοργάνωση του σεμιναρίου με το πολύ ενδιαφέρον θέμα της ψηφιακής εκπαίδευσης. Να συγχαρώ πολύ περισσότερο τους διοργανωτές, που είναι οι εκπαιδευτικές μας οργανώσεις, η Europeana, το Υπουργείο Παιδείας, το Υπουργείο Έρευνας και Καινοτομίας και το ΤΕΠΑΚ με επίκεντρο την έδρα UNESCO. Επίσης, θα ήθελα να ευχαριστήσω όλους που συμμετέχουν σε αυτό το σεμινάριο, τους εκπαιδευτικούς μας, πέραν από την Ποέδο Έρμε Κορτέκ, αλλά και όλους αυτούς τους εκπαιδευτικούς οι οποίοι με ζήλον αφιερώνουν τον χρόνο τους για να πετύχουν περαιτέρω εμβάθυνση σε αυτό το πολύ ενδιαφέρον θέμα. I wish to express also my thanks to the speakers from the Europeana and congratulate for the excellent introductions. And I wish you all the best for the rest of the seminar. Unfortunately, it was very difficult for me to participate in the first part of the seminar because it was working in the parliament. So thank you very much, and excuse me again for the delay to make this short introduction. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best for the next of the seminar.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hadjianis. We'll let you get back to your session in Parliament, but very glad that you dropped in. Thank you so much. We're at the end, more or less. We have a little sort of last activity together, and then we will wrap up. We're a little over time, so I will do this as quickly as possible. What we're going to do together is, it's your turn to search on Europeana. First of all, you're going to go to Europeana, the platform. You're going to look for a castle. And then when you find your castle, you're going to write a very brief micro story. Then if you would like to, those who know Padlet can put it into their own Padlet, but if not, you're very welcome to put your micro story from Europeana into Isabelle's Padlet. And Isabelle, would you like to put the link into the chat so that people can find it easily? So how does this work? First of all, you go into Europeana, as Isabelle pointed out, and we're going to do a search on castle. Not castles, but castle. And then we're going to go into Cyprus, and we're going to find a lot of castles. And then we will bring the castles into, sorry, it ran away from me. We're going to bring the castles into Isabelle's Padlet. So please go to Europeana, follow the links, and then produce a little micro story. You have about 2 or 3 minutes. And of course, if you haven't got time now, you're welcome to go back in your own good time. So go into Europeana and see if you can find a castle. And then we'll wrap up in about 2 minutes. So you can follow the instructions. I'll go through the instructions again. Go to Europeana.eu. Click on the search function in the top right-hand side. Click on, well, not search for everything, because we don't want to search for everything. We want to search for something very specific. We want to search for castle. So don't search on castles, you get something else, but do search on the word castle. Use the drop-down menu, and you'll find castles from Cyprus. So click on Cyprus, and you go into the castles of Cyprus. And if you've done it right, you will have 69 objects from the Europeana collection on castles in Europeana. And then save the object and put it back with a little story, a little mini micro story into Padlet. And this is Isabelle's Padlet. So if you put your story within the next 24 hours into Padlet, we will then share it with you. At the end of this webinar, we're going to share with you the Mentimeter results. You'll have the recording available. You have all this, the links that we have sent and we will send, and you'll have the Padlet collection, hopefully, of micro stories. So just to finish off, hold on. Here's a little story of castles. So thank you everybody for joining us today. Harry, would you like to wrap up?
Oh, I'm not sure if I'm the best person for that, Susan, but yeah, I just want to express my gratitude for everyone for making time for this, and also for my colleagues for coming up with such a very creative way of engaging us. So thank you, everyone. I don't know, Marinos, is there a few observations you want to make on this?
Yeah, I will say that was a nice experience. First time in life to see Europeana, yeah, the place where someone can see the Europe united, because this what you host over there is this what it is in our museums, libraries, archives. And it's a place of knowledge, a place where, yeah, those who are in charge to transfer the knowledge to the next generations, the teachers. In a small country like Cyprus, where we suffered so much, to learn from the past and improve the future. And I think Europeana is a good tool for that. And it's a good opportunity. And thanks to you, Harry, for your time. We do know how busy you are. To the team, especially to our neighbor, Susan. We would like to see all of you in Cyprus, but Susan, you are next to us. Come at any time. And yes, what to say except Evcharisto, Harry. And I don't know if Mary is online, still online. It will be nice if she can go online and say a few words. Miriam, sorry, Miriam. Not Mary, Miriam. But she was busy, I do know. And nevertheless, on behalf of the university, Harry, sure now Zachos is also there. Probably Zachos would like to say a few words. And I would like, but also all the educational organizations and the ministry and so on of Cyprus. Ευχαριστώ.